welcome to our Fireside Chat series, where we dive into the past, the present, and future of the AEC industry's diverse contributions. Welcome to our Fireside Chat and our Halloween episode, Dr. Nicole Hirsch. It's
I'm
Halloween.
so excited. Hi, Raina. I love Halloween.
Love Halloween too.
I
It's
feel
really
like,
interesting to love Halloween as an adult, but I love Halloween.
listen, I love it so much. I feel like we have to share that Raina and I spent every Halloween together as children, and it was probably the biggest holiday that my family celebrated. My mom would um, put on a huge party where she would cook chili and cornbread for all of our friends and their families. My mom was not the crafty one. I'm so thankful to your mom because your mom made more than one of my costumes over the years. And
Well,
then
you
we
but
would
you
trick or treat. It was so
It
fun.
was so fun. And we started with the home base. Mom was handling to make sure we were ready for the day, costume wise. And then your mom was making sure that we had a full belly of food before we went and filled it with candy.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
was so wonderful.
it was great. It was great. So now, as an adult, I think that there's all these other elements of Halloween that I'm really interested in. And especially with our series, I think like it was such a, when we first started talking about this topic, it was like, well, wait a minute, like AEC industry, construction, yes, this connects with Halloween because buildings are one of those things that taps into spirits and haunted houses. I mean, we're familiar with all of these kind of
Yeah.
concepts related to buildings.
So before we jump into buildings, I did some
Yeah.
research on the origins of Halloween because I didn't
Yes.
know. So first off, it's so fascinating how many different cultures celebrate spirits, ghosts, ancestors, the underworld this time of year, like end of October, beginning of November. So apparently Halloween has its origins in a Celtic celebration called Samhain, which was like the end of the summer harvest, and it was a New Year's celebration. And I guess people wore costumes, and those were to ward off the ghosts and the spirits that were said to walk the earth during that festival. And that somehow got incorporated into Christianity as All Saints' Day, which was November 1st. And the day before that was called All Hallows' Eve, which became Halloween. But All Saints' Day also coincides with Dia de los Muertos. It's also Scorpio season. Scorpios are a zodiac sign, associated kind of with like depth and like I'm pretty sure Pluto and Mars are its ruling planets, and Pluto's the planet of the underworld. So, so many different traditions that celebrate ancestors and spirits and ghosts. So that's the history of Halloween.
Yeah, I would say like it's interesting that when you look cross culturally all over the planet, different humans have different ways that they relate to past life, ancestors, ghosts, all of that. I think that's one of the things that actually kind of unites us as human beings on the planet. It's in how we celebrate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as you mentioned, one of the key pieces of Halloween that's so interesting and connected to the AEC industry are the buildings themselves, right? Like so much of the lore is about haunted houses or the structures themselves. And I think, it's so cool that we have that connection. I looked up some little fun facts, and I'm not really sure where this comes from, but there's an estimated 1,200 haunted houses that are constructed in the weeks leading up to Halloween that people go pay to, be spooked in a haunted house tour.
So you could almost say it's a good business time for the AEC industry, or can be, is Halloween, prepping for the haunted houses.
Totally, totally.
Yeah. And
Um,
then you also have like certain buildings, again, like you think about something like, for example, we're in the Bay Area. So one of the things I always think about is actually Alcatraz. So you have this prison that was specifically designed to, like a lot of prisons, prevent prisoners from escaping.
mhm.
But there are people now, as we know, who go on these there's like Alcatraz tours, and then there's specific like ghost Alcatraz tours.
I didn't even
So
know that.
yeah, well, we're real Bay Area, so we've never been to Alcatraz. But maybe we'll do it this Halloween. I don't know.
I actually have been to Alcatraz for
Without me? No.
the Thanksgiving. Maybe we can talk about that for our Thanksgiving episode, the
Right.
Thanksgiving morning, like the Indigenous morning celebration that happened.
Oh, okay.
We should do
Nice.
that.
A
Anyway,
more uplifting way to visit Alcatraz, I would think.
not the ghost tour.
Not the scary
Um,
ghost tour.
so I learned about the origins of haunted houses as well, which goes back to somewhere your old stomping grounds in the UK. So the origin of haunted houses goes back to the 19th century with Marie Tussaud, who
Ooh,
had an exhibition of wax sculptures of decapitated French figures like King Louis XIV, Marie Antoinette, Robespierre, and she had all these kind of gory death masks and wax figures of people who were killed, many of them guillotine victims from the French Revolution. And that was in London in 1802. And that's kind of like the origin of like the spooky haunted house experience.
very interesting. I somehow I missed that in London, meaning going to um the Madame's Wax Museum. Like I told you before, I've been to the one in LA, but now, I mean, again, for the origins to be there in England, and now you can find those all over the place. So it's something that obviously humans all over the world are fascinated by.
Yeah, and it's interesting because her, like the wax museums now are, celebrities dead and alive that look super realistic, but the original one was like gory and
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah. Well, and historically relevant, like taking actual figures, whether they're your opponents in war or just war or historical figures, and sort of, what do you call it? Like encapsulating their process of death,
Yeah.
like guillotine. That's a different way to depict it.
Totally. So one of the things I hoped you would talk about, because I have yet to go, is the Winchester House in San Jose,
Yes.
a
Yes.
very
So
famous haunted house and maybe like the longest haunted house construction project ever.
I think it is. Yeah, like okay, so I mean I have been there, but I think one of the fascinating pieces about this, because again, everyone has beliefs, right? And sometimes it really is your belief system that either keeps your sanity, or some people will take certain elements or begin to believe something in order to try to stay sane, you know? So in this particular situation, I remember that, and you have a little bit more facts about it, but I know that she was sort of instructed by a medium
Yes.
that if she continued to build on this property, it was a way to protect her from spirits. Is that right?
That's right. Apparently, following the death of her husband and her daughter, she was told by some medium to leave her house in New Haven, Connecticut, move west to California, and continuously build a home for herself. And that would help her be protected from the spirits.
Right.
And apparently, this house was constructed over like multiple decades, starting in 1884 all the way to 1922, continuous construction. But I've never been there. What's it like?
Okay, so first of all, we need her around now for the AEC industry, because if you have a contract that lasts that long, you're winning. Like you are working every day. So shout out to her and supporting the construction industry. So yes, I've been to this house, and I will say that again, a lot of times obsessions end up turning into madness. And with this particular woman, that's what I saw in the house. So there are literally, like, first of all, there's parts of the house that are beautiful. I mean, again, I think they talked about there's multiple ballrooms, tons of bathrooms, bedrooms, all of that kind of thing. She obviously, money was not the issue. Um, but then there's some weird stuff. So there's definitely like a reoccurring theme of like these spider web designs throughout the house. And then we know kind of like the number 13 being like this, ooh, sort of spooky number. So you see elements of that in the house. But what really struck me is there's different floors. So you would go up to what would seem like, maybe there's going to be another floor further up the stairs. You get to the top of that, and they've shut off the door, but the door, if you opened it, it would lead to outside. It is a doorway leading to nowhere. So it's where you can see the elements where she was able to complete certain projects, and then other projects were just sort of madness. And they were sort of, I mean, I don't want to name it as pointless, but a door to me that leads nowhere is not functional. So there were elements that were not about function. They were more, again, about what she was instructed to do in order to keep herself safe, which is interesting. But I think it's interesting to be in a house that is really beautiful in certain regards, and you understand the time period. Again, if you're someone who's interested in construction, you understand that, again, when like a place like San Francisco where you have Victorians, that's about the Victorian era, and there's certain architectural, things that define that era. So there's elements of the house that are pretty, and then there's other stuff that's like, what is this about? So it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed
I
bag.
gotta get there. That sounds both beautiful and kind of creepy.
It can be a bit eerie. And then I guess, again, hearing her backstory, losing a child, losing, a husband, and then where you decide to pour that energy into. And so obviously she was like, we're just going to keep on building. And it would be interesting to know, because it's in San Jose, there's probably people who knew her. I'd be interested to know like what spirit she was protecting herself from.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I read that there were about 160 rooms in the house, including 40 bedrooms. And I think there, like you said, a couple ballrooms,
Yeah.
two basements.
Because
Um,
why have
yeah,
one?
why have one when you have two? Anyways, maybe that's something I'll get to do for this Halloween. And for those of you out there watching, I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween. Get into your haunted houses, um,
Yes.
and
Yep.
have fun, being spooked and communing with the spirits.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say, Halloween is a great time to get into the spirit, whether that's just like a pumpkin latte or if it's finding the haunted, buildings in your area. Could be fun. Who knows? If you're brave enough. So,
True, true.
happy Halloween, Nicole.
Happy Halloween, Raina.
Yeah. And
See you
happy
next
Halloween,
time.
everybody.